Have you ever had a near-death experience? Or perhaps someone you know may have had a near-death experience? Well, if so, we would love to hear your story and have you as a guest on our podcast. For more information, visit NDE.world. Again, that's NDE.world. We would love to hear your story.
Welcome to the NDE World Podcast, where we explore the magical, mystical, and spiritual world of near-death experiences. And now, Ashton Lewis and Daphne Lynn.
Welcome back to the NDE World Podcast. I am your host, Ashton Lewis, and with me is my lovely hostess, Miss Daphne Lynn. Hello, Miss Daphne Lynn, and how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And the question for you, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to today, and we got some really cool reviews and going to find us some more nuggets and some these NDE experiences.
Oh yeah, there's so many beautiful ones.
Yeah, I had noticed earlier, and I was looking over our podcasts and episodes and stuff, that this is actually number 49. This is our 49th episode that we're recording as we speak right now that you guys are listening to. However, number 50, we got our 50th anniversary that's coming up, and it happens to fall right on Christmas. So we've got a really super cool podcast coming up. It's going to be a doozy.
Teachings,
so it's super cool things that you guys are going to learn, and maybe discover some lies that you may be even believing or have been led to or whatever. But you can make up your own mind on that. But that's going to be coming on our 50th anniversary Christmas special, and we're going to be releasing that next after this particular podcast. So
yeah, and in that episode, it may be stuff that others are well aware of, especially if they've had NDEs.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to, because we've already got all the information on for it. That's going to be really cool. It's going to be a really cool one. So look forward to that. Look forward to the 50th anniversary podcast of the NDE World. And for those of you who are new, go to our website and check it out at NDE.world, and it gives you all of our information, who we are, what we do, and all of our podcasts and topics and things like that. So go check that out again, NDE.world. So let's jump into it. Now today, what we normally do on review day is we will play some clips of some actual real experiences of near-death experiencers, and we review it, and we break down the elements, and we look for the actual nuggets hidden within. So
especially comments from spiritual beings, from source, because even from the deceased loved ones, they have nugs that are so profound. And just really enlightening to us. If we take the time and listen to them, we can grow so much and learn so much about our spiritual side. Yeah. We're walking in the physical, but we are spiritual. So that is going to resonate with us.
It will. And this stuff, ever since we started this, Daphne, to be honest with you, it has taken me to a whole different level of love and comprehension and understanding, just looking at the world around me. This stuff really works, and it really does have some really good nuggets, So that's why we're here, is to be able to share these with others,
Yes.
So, well, without further ado, any comments before we get started, or you just want to just jump into it?
Yeah, let's jump in and get it going.
Let's do it, okay? We got our pens and our paper ready, and we're going to go ahead and play our first review clip here and see if we can find some nuggets. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, and we are rolling.
My experience took place a little over 3 months ago. During this period, I was definitely agnostic in the sense that I didn't think about God. Although my family is Catholic, I felt that there was nothing that bound me to that religion. But everything changed on the night of October 6th, 2018, at 3 a.m. I view my experience as something extraordinary, which has changed my life forever. That night I went to sleep as usual. Suddenly, I woke up to strong, earthquake tremors. The entire family woke up and got ready to get out of the house if necessary. The tremors passed and we were able to go back to bed. I could hardly walk from the fright, but eventually managed to get back to my room. After I got back into bed, I began to shake because I was terrified that the large light above my bed would fall and crush me. Suddenly, I began to feel a searing pain in my chest that took my breath away. The pain was so overwhelming that I lost consciousness. My parents were too far away and in another room, so they did not hear my suffocated cries for help. As I lost consciousness, I realized that I still was completely lucid and aware of what was going on. I began to feel a huge sensation of lightness and peace. My senses were awake. I turned around instinctively, and to my great surprise, I saw my body still lying on the bed with the eyes shut. I then understood that I was outside of my body. At first I thought that I had died. Then I remembered having read about out-of-body experiences and convinced myself that that was what was happening to me. Only afterwards did I realize that I had had a cardiac arrest. Taking advantage of the fact that nobody could see me, I began to wander around on the astral plane into friends' and relatives' houses out of pure curiosity. At a certain point, I heard a voice that came from deep inside of me, compelling me to go towards the sky. I intuitively went towards the stars. Before me unfolded a scene that I had never seen in my whole life. I saw dazzling, beautiful lights in so many colors, among which were white, pink, and gold mixed together. There was no tunnel. These marvelous lights filled the whole sky. I wanted to go towards the lights but was blocked by a collective presence. I couldn't see the otherworldly beings, but I could feel their presence. I instinctively knew that this collective presence was God. I wondered how this was possible given that during this time I didn't believe in God. My train of thought was interrupted when one of the divine beings communicated with me telepathically the following: "You and I are one and the same. No one is separated from anyone." Before I had time to process this, the being continued, "We are the beings that God created." I didn't understand the meaning of this sentence. But then I was focused on a ray of white light coming towards me. I knew it was different from the other lights as it immersed me in its purity. I felt an overwhelming sensation of absolute peace. The light was dazzling, but it didn't blind me. While bathing in total peace, divine images appeared before me. I don't know how to explain in our language, but it was my spirit. I was being shown my life from the moment of my birth. Before I was born, I existed as God the Omnipotent Father, and then I was split from my true essence, God, to come to earth. The purpose of this division has always been for spiritual advancement. Furthermore, I knew that the true objective of incarnation is to express our true essence, i.e. God the Father. I also saw that one day we would all unite as one God without ever losing our individuality. I knew that no hell or destiny exists. In fact, as God, we are all able to create our own lives according to the emotions we feel. There are no limits to the wishes that we can fulfill, and this too forms a part of our spiritual development. Moreover, our beliefs create our reality to the extent that we can manifest the divine on the astral plane. This always comes from within, as we are the only true God. It's not that we represent one small part of the divine, but that we all are the Almighty, in its whole, because this can never be divided. After seeing these visions, I returned to my body and have retained all of the knowledge.
Okay, and we are back, and that is a really great NDE. Oh man, that is loaded.
Yes,
with
most
all kind of
definitely.
nuggets. What do you think, Daphne?
Wow. I love these like this. I mean, it is so uniform. So many of these NDEs come back saying the exact same thing. There's unity in NDE stories, which makes my spiritual growth grow so much. Whereas religion kind of pushed me down and stagnated me, and there was no unity in it. These accounts, there is true unity, that thread of divine running through every bit of it.
It resonates.
Yes,
It does. It does. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Well, for starters, this guy was he was an agnostic. In other words, he didn't really, he wasn't, an atheist, but he just didn't really have a full understanding or really believe much in God. So,
and he was brought up as a Catholic.
Yeah. So he was, he was brought up in that environment, so he would have some kind of concept of it. But apparently, he just wasn't sure for his own reasons. But there was an episode that changed his life. He said that one day that they were having these tremors, I'm guessing earthquake tremors, and it kind of put him in a panic, and he just didn't realize how much of a panic it put him under. But it put apparently
cardiac arrest.
It put him into a cardiac arrest. He didn't even know it. But next thing you know, he had popped out of the body, and he was a lucid dreaming, actually. So this is more or less not necessarily an NDE, but more or less the OBE.
Yeah,
is where
before
it gets really
he realized he had the cardiac arrest. Yeah.
Correct.
He
So technically it would be a near death if you count the cardiac arrest, yeah.
Yeah, and going before that, he said he saw himself out of body, so he thought he was just having an out-of-body experience. But it turned out to be a cardiac arrest, and it was an NDE, so... Yes. That was pretty wild that he was in the astral realm. Yeah,
said he was there, and so he thought he'd go check out some friends and family's houses and stuff, but all of a sudden he had this voice that said, go to the sky. So he said he started going to the sky, and then all of a sudden the scene changed. It was like this dazzling lights and colors and it filled the sky and everything. But he said he didn't actually experience the tunnel. Now, a lot of people usually go down the tunnel, but not all. I mean, we do get a lot of stories that don't. This particular guy didn't actually experience the tunnel,
Right. Now, this next little part I found interesting, and you see it in so many of these accounts, is they couldn't actually see the collective, but they felt the presence of the collective, and which he determined to be God.
Right. So, he said he didn't really know, but because with him being an atheist, his atheist background, but he knew that, he just knew this had to be, what he would refer as God. So it said this collective, or the divine, had began to telepathically. That's another note right there. We do get communication is telepathically on the other side.
Always.
But here's where it gets good. Okay, the voice says that you and I are one and the same. No one is separated from anyone. Let's start there, Daphne. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, you hear that in so many of these accounts. I mean, you really have to just take this in, and if you don't believe it, take this in and meditate on it. Let Source guide you. Let your spirit guide you to fully understand this. Myself, I finally understand this in my older years. Years ago I would have said, blasphemy, you're going to burn in hell for that, but now I truly understand this. It resonates so well with me now. How about with you?
The part that really resonates with me, Daphne, is it's the harmonious relation that NDEs across the board have, that synchronicity, even though it comes in different, like I said, it's usually presented differently in different forms and shapes and symbols according to that person's own experience, but there's that common thread, and we're looking at I'm guessing probably close to 100,000 cases of NDEs, and it's all in harmony,
And they are, yes.
And that's what I do like about it. Now, it says that we are the beings that God created, okay? Mm-hmm. And it gets even more that, if God is what we call the source, or the source is what we call God, or this energy, this all,
Spirit,
it's creating itself. So we are beings that it created to express itself through all of us. And we're going to get into that here, but it gets really good. So he's with all these different colored lights, and then he noticed this one white light that was coming down. It was different from the others. Him. Also, it was coming out of him. Mm-hmm. Oh, and you see, I didn't know that. So I thought he was experiencing.
It was coming at him, not out. It was coming toward him.
Yeah, it was coming towards him, and it was a lot different from the other ones. But it said that he noticed that it had immersed him in its purity and its love and its overwhelming absolute peace.
Mm-hmm.
That we get a lot in these NDEs as well.
Mm-hmm. That peace and love that you... Now, he didn't speak of true love or the overwhelming love, but the peace that he needed in his life.
Yeah.
So peace.
Now, what comes up next? The life review.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the life review is such a major element for all of us, guys. Keep that in mind when you make choices amongst your day-to-day things that you do. Always make the right choice, because everything you do is going to come back on you. And that's what this life review is all about. So he said he saw his in divine images. Okay. We get different stories how the life reviews, typically presented, but this was just said divine images, spirit,
Right.
Here's where it gets good, guys.
This is just, yes,
this
I
blew
love
me
this
away.
part.
So you might want to take a pen and paper and write it down. If not, come back and play this again, because this is where the nuggets get really good.
Favorite this one.
Yeah.
Highlight this one. Definitely save this in your list, because this is a good point.
And I want you to understand, guys, listen very closely to what he says here. This is what we believe in, we teach, and this is what all these NDEs have in common and in harmony with.
Yes.
Right? So he said that he was shown his whole life from birth to death, or that current point, when he had the NDE. And he was also shown before birth, and he said that before I was born, I existed as God, the omnipotent Father. Would you like to comment on that before?
Yes, exactly.
For all those out there that screaming blasphemy already.
Yeah, no, that is, you hear a lot of these stories talking about how we all exist as God, and that tying this in with the instant download, the all knowledge, how when we as spirit return back to source, we get that instant download because we're part of it. So we're just returning back to ourself, the higher self, that almighty creator, God, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it.
That's right.
We return back to it.
Right. And that's the difference between, say, someone like like Jesus, for example, how they say he came from God. Well, the difference between Jesus thinking and your thinking, or my thinking, any of us, is he knew he came from God. Okay? This guy had this near-death experience, and he was shown that, hey, you are God.
Exactly.
You came from God. This is the same thing that Jesus taught. This is the same thing that all these masters have always taught us. That you are source. You are part of source. You are part of nature, this thing we call God.
The Father and I are one.
That's right. So Jesus knew this.
Right.
And he taught this to others.
And thank goodness I have learned this, and I accept this. I know this about myself now.
Right.
You know? There's beauty in these accounts.
So he saw that he was split off from the source. It's true, so that's all of us. He said his true essence, which is God, okay? He split off from that and came to earth. Mm-hmm. Who does that sound like? It sounds like we're reading a story about Jesus or something. I mean, the point is we get this from all kind of sources that have these near-death experiences. So this is a very common.
And what was the purpose of coming to earth?
Is the purpose of this division has always been for spiritual advancement. Is that not what we hear?
Yes, exactly.
All these near-death experiences and all these channelers and mediums and all of this stuff is all in harmony, all in sync.
They are. Yes. I totally agree. And that's why I love listening to these things.
Well, I like how you brought out, I knew the true objective of incarnation, okay, is to express our true essence, which is God.
Yes.
What we call God. It's God expressing itself through you. Okay?
Yes.
It says, I also saw that one day we would all unite as one God without ever losing our individuality.
Yes, exactly. That's that returning back to the source.
Wow.
And what I like this next part too. He saw that there was no hell or destiny.
Right. That's a very, 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 very common element in these NDEs is there is no hell. Now, people do have hellish experiences. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it doesn't prove that there is a hell because it's
just
not
distressing
there
in their
and
mind.
it's not in harmony with this source or God of love.
Right. Exactly.
Which ties in, like he said here, it says, we create our own lives according to the emotions. What?
That we feel.
Absolutely.
Yes, most definitely.
Well, I like also, it says that there are no limits to wishes that we can fulfill, and this too forms a part of our spiritual development. So when you realize that you are God, you are the I am, you can create any world that you want. There's nothing that you can't do.
Yes,
you got faith the size of a mustard seed. What is it that you can't do,
Exactly. And this really, I have had this disc set for probably 10 years. I have not listened to this for whatever reason. I have not listened to it. Maybe because it wouldn't have made sense to me back then. Everything in its time. Wayne Dyer. We had a friend of ours give us this set years and years ago, and well, it wasn't 15 years ago, but it was a while back. And Wayne Dyer, Wishes Fulfilled.
Yeah,
do you remember? It's in there on
stuff.
the bookshelf.
Yeah.
I've never listened to it. I'm about to get this out, and I'm going to go put it in my car.
Now it's time.
It's time now,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would highly recommend anyone out there to listen to Wayne Dyer.
Oh, God, yeah,
any of
him
his
and...
work. Beautiful soul. He's done transition, too.
Yes, most definitely.
He's already on the other side, so...
Alan Watts, too. Oh, my gosh.
Alan Watts. He's deep.
Yes,
Yeah, I love
both
Alan
of those
Watts.
guys I love.
Both of those were definitely influenced from the, a lot of the Buddhist traditions and Tibetan and things like that. They were both influenced by that. And you can hear that in there. But so was Jesus. Jesus was taught and brought up in those ways as well. Okay, now our beliefs, what this guy said, he said that our beliefs create our own realities to the extent that we can manifest the divine on the astral plane. Comment?
Exactly, yeah. And that comes from within.
That's
right. Because
it said it only comes from within.
Yeah, because we are the only true God.
Think about that. Let's repeat that. Yeah. Everything we can do and create our own world comes from within, okay? And it says, as Daphne said, it says, we are the only true God. And I like to tie with it, to tie in with that. It's really saying the same thing, but to get it, even clearer, it says that it's not that we represent one small part of the divine, but that we all are the Almighty in its whole, because this can never be divided. So God can't be divided and broken up. So wow, okay.
Yeah.
Think about that. It's not that we are divided or broken off from Him. We are connected to that source. But we come from that source, and we're experiencing life, and we do return to that source.
Right. And it makes me think of the scripture, absent in the body is present with the Lord, from the Bible. I mean, right there. You leave this realm and go straight back into the one. Yeah.
That's a good point. Good point. And also the final thing here says that he actually eventually returned back to his body. But what was really cool that he said he retained all of his knowledge. So
all of his knowledge that he experienced.
We get that every now and then. People do get to retain some knowledge that they bring back, but many people,
a lot of times they don't get to keep all their knowledge. He remembered all of this account. So, and there's probably more of it that he did not elaborate on because, he said he retained all knowledge.
Absolutely. Very good.
That's very good.
Well, that was super awesome nuggets in there. Let's go ahead and jump on the other one real quick because I know we got kind of a time limit.
Yes.
So we want to go and see if we can squeeze another one in real quick. So let's go ahead and start the next clip, and we are rolling.
I was 4, almost 5 years old. My experience was not near death, it was death. I was in my bed because I had been very ill and had fevers hitting 104. Mom says I hit 105 at some point. I remember being lowered into a cold tub of water when my mother was frantically trying to bring the fever down. I would hallucinate the same thing every time my fever got that high. The ceiling would start bouncing back and forth like a rubber band. It would begin lowering down on me. I would cry out thinking I was going to be crushed. Looking back now, it was probably seizures. I was also vomiting every hour or less. This went on for 3 days. I still had held nothing down. Mom took me to the hospital when she realized that I was getting worse. I was immediately rushed back to the emergency room beds. The room became busy with medical staff rushing around. They were asking Mom questions, and she answered while watching me. She looked worried and was trying not to cry. I felt so tired. I just wanted to sleep for a while. I remember telling everyone I was feeling much better. The sounds in the room started to get a hollow echo to them. I wanted to close my eyes, so I did. The voices in the room continued to echo. I noticed my toes were touching the foot of the bed. I thought, wow, I am a big girl. I felt so proud. I opened my eyes to look, and when I did, I was looking at myself. I was blue and lying on a gurney. My eyes were slits. There were people around me frantically working. Mom was crying as she looked on. I wasn't upset or scared. but I was a little confused. I knew I didn't have a body. I felt like I was part of everything and everyone. I just floated up and could see other rooms. I later detailed conversations that there is no way I could have known. I lifted out of the hospital and continued ascending. I began browsing through time. I saw events from my short life. I later detailed things that occurred before I could even talk. These were events I should not be able to remember, but I do, and in great detail. As I kept ascending, I felt at peace. There were no questions or unknowns. Time wrapped in on itself. There was no past, present, or future as we see it here. Everything happened now, and all at one time. I felt no fears or worries. I began drifting towards a beautiful light, and I wanted to touch it. Suddenly, there was a pop. It felt like I was attached to a cord when someone grabbed it and jerked me down. I descended almost instantly. I don't remember much after that. I don't even remember going home.
And we are back. Okay, Miss Daphne, would you like to start that one off?
Quick and short. Wow.
Yeah, it was a little shorter than the other one.
Most definitely. Apparently, she was having some massive fevers going on and hallucinations in the beginning. And then she went to the hospital and apparently had a near-death experience there because she experienced an OBE, which she saw herself being blue.
I know. Looking back on the body,
Yeah. It was interesting, too, that she said when she felt her toes touching the end of the bed and then she opened her eyes to look and she saw herself and she was a big girl. So that's that being out of the body, the massive size, maybe?
Could be.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
But it confused her.
Yeah, well, it confused her because she didn't have no body, but she was aware.
Yeah.
She was aware of everything, but she was not in the body, but she was conscious,
Right.
and that's what.
She was what? Part of everything and everyone. That collective.
That's right. There's one of your nuggets right there.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. You are one and all. We are all part of the all and the one.
Exactly. Yeah. And she went right on up out of the hospital and.
Yeah.
What was it she was saying about time?
The time difference.
Different
Yes, it was a
times.
different time. Yeah, but right before that, it says she was shown some events from her life, and some events that should not be remembered. Any comments on that?
That she couldn't remember. Yeah.
that she
Before
couldn't
she even began to talk. So that's something she shouldn't have been able to even remember if she, because my earliest memory is I was like 2 years old. So, that's pretty interesting that she could remember that.
I know. Think about that. Mm-hmm. And we do hear people remembering, birth and pre-birth and all those kind of things as well.
Past lives even, yeah.
Just like the one we heard earlier had a really good example of that pre-birth kind of, seeing. He went all the way back to source before he even came here as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And again, like you said, no time. The time, present and past and all, everything is now. The only thing is now. What we call the eternal now. We hear that so much as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, another one. No fears.
Exactly. No fears.
So now, after she was feeling really good, she noticed the light, and she said she wanted to touch the light.
Started going toward it.
Started going towards the light and drift towards the light. And before she got to the light, all of a sudden she felt this kind of a pop, and she kind of pretty much just descended back into the body.
Exactly. And then she said she didn't even remember going home. So I don't know if she's not like going home from the hospital or something, or is she maybe referencing being home on the other side?
I don't know. That's that's a good question. Yeah,
that was left me going, what is she meaning by that?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. That's again, always remember that every one of these near-death experiences are all personalized and they're individual.
Yeah.
So she knew what it meant to her,
exactly.
returning home. So, but
and
that's
the thing.
Something to think about. But it is individually, to all of us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is each of these, when they come back from these NDEs, there's something, a sort of lesson in it for them, or something for them to change in their life to help them in some way.
Yep. Well, we've got a little bit of time left, so we're going to go ahead and probably wrap up things here shortly. Any kind of final comments on on today's reviews, Daphne?
Oh, just, I guess the one before this one, it just, the oneness that we come from God, we are God. You know, that is, I hear it so very much. And for the longest time, I've said it before, I'll say it again, you know, when I first heard somebody say, we are God, I gasped. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they just said that. But now that I have been enlightened, I have had my spiritual awakening.
Of course.
And, you know, I thought I was awake when I was going to church and had a spiritual awakening then.
Yeah.
I've had it even more.
At a level, because people who do go to church, you know, they do have that level of spirituality.
Exactly, yeah.
They're seeking that better life or better ways of life. So it's spirituality is where you want to be, and church does have its, it does play its role, and religion does play its role. So it's a good thing when it's used constructively. It's a bad thing, you know, when it's used to harm others.
Right,
but it goes for anything, really.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say is now, you know, I've had an even greater awakening.
A real
and
awakening.
I can comprehend these things without having any kind of negative thoughts about it.
Yeah, it even gives you a whole different level of understanding Scripture as well.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's a couple of things I want to go back and reread from what I know now.
Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh, yes, because it's gonna be more eye-opening than it was then.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of, we have our 50th anniversary podcast coming up next, and man, we have some really mind-blowing information that's going to really challenge your belief system. We'll leave you all the information on where we got all this information from, and you're welcome to look into it, but one must understand that there are documents, historical documents, and we do have the evidence that, you know, these documents preceded the modern New Testament. However, the modern New Testament was built on this. And from our research, it says this is the oldest manuscript or document of the life and teachings of the one we know as Jesus. You know, so
I'm looking forward to that episode.
Me too.
And let's not give too much away right now.
I'm not. You know, and it's going to be a lot longer than our normal 30 minutes.
It'll
because
probably
we're
be a two-parter.
Yeah, it's probably
sure.
it's going to be a while. But yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. But I'm so excited about that, and so looking forward to that. And you know, and it's going to be a Christmas release. So what we're going to do, since it's going to be Christmas, we're just going to kind of cater more towards things about Jesus that you may not know, that you may think you know, but you may not really know. And we're going to give it to you from a different perspective to get you thinking. And if you're very weak spiritually, I would guess new into your faith and all, you may not want to tune into that one, because we're going to be really digging deep, but it is really, it's for everybody searching and seeking. Everybody can learn from it.
That's what I was going to say.
Everybody can grow from it.
Being young in your faith, it may help you to broaden quicker than getting more indoctrinated.
That's right. Yeah, you can spend like 40 years in religion, like someone like myself,
right,
40 plus. You know, or you can learn this stuff here and bypass all that and go straight to the higher spiritual golden
spiritual nuggets
life. Yeah, absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
Most definitely.
So we're looking forward to that too. So you guys look out for that, the number 50th anniversary Christmas special
episode.
Yeah, episode 50. Doesn't seem like we've done 50 already, does it?
It really doesn't. No, it's been so fun.
Yeah, it really has. And good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be doing our next 50.
My grandma used to say that.
Yeah, that's old school stuff there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Give our age away, you know. So,
yes.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up on this episode, guys. We look forward to the next one. And just in case you didn't know, you can get more information about who we are and what we do at the NDE.world website. Okay, and it's got all of our podcasts and the topics and all of the different things that we cover there. So contact us if you know somebody, you know, or who has had any kind of cool experience, including near-death experiences or spiritual experiences or extraordinary or extraterrestrial, or it doesn't matter. Anything in cool experiences, feel free to, if you want to share it with us, let us know. Go to that website again, NDE.world, and contact us, and we'd love to have you on so we can share your story. How does it sound?
It sounds absolutely wonderful. We look forward to hearing more from you guys.
Absolutely. We love you all so much. Thank you so much for listening, and may peace be with you all. Until next time.
Y'all always let your light shine.
For information about the NDE World Podcast, visit NDE.world. That's NDE.world